who are joining us for the first time. My name is Lawrence Casimir. I'm part of the philanthropy team here at the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. I am very proud that I work for Israel's oldest and largest environmental not-for-profit and non-governmental organization. We've been around since 1953, which is about twice as long as Israel's Ministry for Environmental Protection, and 10 years older than the Nature Reserves Authority. We've had a long and storied history, which we've covered in other webinars, which I won't go into today. But today I am really delighted that I'm joined by two people, Liron and Yael Eliashar, who both work for our Jerusalem community, in our Jerusalem community office, which I'll explain in a second. As normal, and we've got Avatar here as well. As the house rules as normal is I will be keeping an eye on any questions in either the chat or the formal Q&A box, and I will ask them all to Yael and Liron at the end. So just keep the questions coming. If there's any audio issues, then then put it in the chat and I'll try and sort them out. I have checked their audio beforehand and they're quite audible today. Our next webinar will be in 2 weeks' time on the 29th of November. And we have Dan Alon, who is the head of our birding unit. And he's going to be talking about a social media project that they've been running this year, looking at his tales from his birding notebook from many, many years ago when he was a young birder. Obviously, we are a charity. We rely on your support to keep up our great work. Donations are tax deductible in Israel, the US, Canada, and the UK. So if you live in any of those countries and you'd like to make a donation, you can claim your tax back according to the laws of your country and whatever your budget says. And you can make a donation on our website, which is www.natureisrael.org, or send a check to local office, which is on our website. And I'm going to unmute Yael and Liron because I'm going to introduce them now. So I'm really delighted today that I have two guests. Not sure how I managed to organize that. I have two people with us today, Liron and Yael, who, as I said, work in our Jerusalem office. So they are actually in a very, very esteemed historical location because they are in Bet Levi Eshkol, which is, or I guess was, the official residence for Israel's first prime ministers. So downstairs from them at the moment is a kitchen. Well, they have their own kitchen, but downstairs is Golda Meir's historical kitchen. So just to put into context, all her kitchen cabinet stuff, that's Golda Meir's kitchen cabinet stuff. That's where their office is. And this is our Jerusalem community's second historical office, because their first one was the Russian compound, which is now probably a spy center for the Russians. And hopefully they didn't hear that. So SPNI works both nationally and in the community. And so we have offices in 5 of Israel's major cities. And today we're going to be talking about what goes on in Jerusalem. Every day, we pray in the Amida for the rebuilding of Jerusalem. And it's really praying for these guys' success. When we say rebuilding to the city of Jerusalem, Liron and Yael both influence how the city is going to be built, how our capital city, for many of us, it is our capital city, whether we live in Israel or abroad, and how it's going to grow, whether it's going to be a green city or a dirty city, whether it's going to be a city which is sustainable or packed and unpleasant to live in. And Yael has been fighting for Jerusalem's future for 18 years, working for SPNI. And that includes the Gazal Valley, which many of us have seen and have visited and love on our webinars. And Liron has been one of the very few people who have worked at SPNI in a shorter time than I have, only 4 years, which makes somewhat of a novice. I'm just really delighted. They both work on our planning team, so they're there fighting the committees, representing the public. Promoting the importance of nature as part of the city's infrastructure. And today they're going to talk about a major campaign that they're currently fighting for the Reches Lavan, or the White Ridge, which was recently featured in the New York Times. And I put an article to that story in the last e-newsletter, which most of you should have received in your mailbox. But without further ado, because I'm sure you don't want to hear me for any longer, I'm going to turn over to Liron and Yael.
Thank you, Lawrence. So good evening. My name is Liron, and Yael Eliashar is sitting next to me. We both work at the Jerusalem community of SPNI, and we are very happy to be here with you tonight. Jerusalem community works together with citizens to enhance the sustainability of our beloved and important city and to preserve its natural assets. So before we start, let us just zoom out for a minute to learn that Jerusalem sits on a mountain ridge. This is Jerusalem. The mountain ridge starts north from Nablus all the way to Hebron and a bit more to the south. Here is Hebron. It sits 600 meters above sea level. And you can see on the one side, on the east, you can see the Dead Sea, which is part of the Rift Valley. And to the west, you can see the Mediterranean Sea. The change in climate calls for the change in vegetation and biodiversity. So this is a desert place. This is a more cultivated land. The reason for showing this is to say something about the natural assets of Jerusalem. That Jerusalem sits high. It's not a mountain, it's a hill, but for us, it's one of the mountains. It's secluded by its geography. We usually know Jerusalem as with the assets of the old city, which is sacred to the three religions, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims, the old city markets. Today we wanted to focus on the other side, on the west side of the city, the hills of Jerusalem, the green belt that surrounds the city. This belt has been also important, very important throughout the years. We can find today Roman roads and pilgrim routes that are still winding up the hills towards the old city. Jerusalem was the high point, both geographically and spiritually, for pilgrims of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. 3 times a week, 3 times a year, Jews go up to the Temple Mount. Christians are still visiting, and were visiting many churches and monasteries in and around Jerusalem. Layers of civilization have shaped the city's character and also its hills. So today we will focus mainly on the green belt. This green belt that defines the city, and we can find within it all this biodiversity that I'll soon show you, and that balance the intensity of the inner city. We wanted to give you a glimpse of this beauty around Jerusalem. You can see Jerusalem that sits here on top of the ridge. So today we're going to talk about all what is around the city. So first, a glimpse of some beautiful photos taken recently on those hills. So we went for an excursion with some of our staff members from Tel Aviv, friends of Lawrence that worked with them in the Tel Aviv office. It was 6 a.m. in the morning. The air was very clean, clear, with the sense of pine trees. We were standing for an observation on the Arthur Rubinstein lookout. You can see the piano-like statue here. So one of our staff members, his name is Ariel. He's also the manager of the Ofra Field School. Is explaining about the geology, about the vegetation. Shmulik, which is our mammal specialist, was explaining later about the gazelles, all the mammals, the biodiversity, ecological corridors, and their future. We went on this tour with the professional photographers, so hence these beautiful pictures. This is, of course, a beautiful fig tree. The purpose of the trip was to show them around Jerusalem and its assets. So we started with some springs. Jerusalem is surrounded by numerous springs. This is one of them. It's called En Me'ara. Me'ara is a cave. You can see it from the outside and from the inside. It still have water in the middle of the summer, at the end of the summer. Many people come and bathe in those springs. This is also one of our Tel Aviv staff member. She was coming out from the spring. I'll show you what she saw before. She's astounded, but what she saw, she never been into a spring. She's calling her friend to come in and see. So this is what she saw. This is a handmade waterway that collects the water from the porous rock and direct them to the pool that you saw just before. Here it again. So the water comes from this man-made tunnel, comes out to the pool, and from the pool, people used to take some of the water for agriculture or other domestic and natural needs in ancient days, of course. Today, the springs and pools are mainly a place to relax and to have fun in spare time. It is also a place for ultra-Orthodox people who come and practice their religious practices. They ultra-Orthodox come and bathe in the water. So he is standing here on the side waiting for his turn. He's waiting for all the women to leave the spring so he can go in. He and other men can go in and bathe. We kept on walking. We came to En Lavan, which Lawrence mentioned in the beginning, one of our biggest struggles in the last 2 years. En Lavan is the biggest and most beloved spring in the Jerusalem hills. This is a regular Wednesday midday, and you see all different kinds of people who comes and bathe in the spring. And I wanted to give you a glimpse of that this place is also very important for the ultra-Orthodox people community. So this is a movie made by a guy named Moshe Fisher and produced by Yuval Penn. And I'll just share with you the movie that he made. Just a second, excuse me. Lawrence?
I'm here.
Why can't I share it?
I don't know. You
Okay.
shared it well before.
Yes, we did it. So just, I'll give it another try. And if not, we will leave it.
There you go.
Okay. So,
השם שלי זה משה זינגר, ואני גר בירושלים, בשכונת רוממה. אחוריי זה שטח מדהים, בנייה עליו זה בעצם הרס, ולא רק לבעלי חיים, זה הרס לתושבים. לציבור החרדי והדתי יש הרבה ילדים, רובו ללא רישיונות נהיגה. אני עצמי הגעתי לפה היום בתחבורה ציבורית, לאבא שלי אין רישיון נהיגה. המשפחה שלנו... אם יש רישיון במשפחה, לא נכנסים לרכב אחד. אם אנחנו רוצים מעיין, אפשר לצאת למקום.
So he says it's very important for us to have this place and this time out to go out walking from where we live, look at the wildlife, to look at the birds. It's something that God gave us and we want to keep it. I'll stop here. Okay, and go back to, so the spring is important to all kinds of variety of people in Jerusalem. Here we stand in Lavan with Ariel, and Ariel reads to us from the Bible, from Joshua chapter 17, explaining how this landscape that you see on your left was formed. So he's telling us a story that the people turned to Joshua and complained that the land was not divided equally. And Joshua answered that they should clear some of the trees and learn how to use the hilly land. And what you see to your left is the result of a terrace landscape, agricultural land that was used in those hilly landscape around Jerusalem. So here our tour ended, and I want to go over and tell you that what I try to do in this tour is just go over through the picture and show you all the assets of the Jerusalem hills. So we have the springs, which is the basis of civilization and the roots of life, which is reliant on the presence of water. Jerusalem exists because of the abundance of springs around it. The Pilgrim's Way were built along these oases. The special geology that you see here on your right is what makes these springs possible. So basically, the rainwater percolates into the ground until they reach a sealed clay layer, the aquiclude, which is impermeable, and the springs appears, as you see here. So the springs appear, and usually they caught the water in a pool, and then they use the water. So on your right side, you see En Lavan, and on your left side, you see spring also in the Jerusalem Hills. Unfortunately, this one also already dried due to development, we guess. So this is the green belt around Jerusalem. This green belt consists of heritages and cultures because the water and the springs are also the basis of this agriculture that surrounds Jerusalem. Actually, the green belt was the economic belt of Jerusalem, where the food was cultivated and that supplied the city of Jerusalem, including wine and oil press for the temple. You can see the ancient terrace, not here. Here you can see a wine press, you can see summer agriculture settlements, This, we call it Shomera, because it's the place where the Shomer, the one that take care of the land during the summer, lives.
Watchman. It's a watchtower. It's like a watchtower.
Yes. It's only for the summers. And what we can also find in those hills is Enkarem, the village of Enkarem, which was put into the tentative list of UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. You can see here monasteries, you can find here churches. Water also are the basis of life, and the rich biodiversity that we can find around Jerusalem. We can see the tzvi, the gazella, which is an endangered species. In the last 30 years, the population decreased by 70%. It's an endemic species to Israel. On the right, you can see an old and disused quarry, also in the hills of Jerusalem, that transformed within the years. It's been deserted for 20 years now, into a beautiful wetland in the winter. This is what most people who live in Jerusalem can see without paying. Just walking out their neighborhoods and the outskirts of Jerusalem, they can see gazelles, herds of gazelles passing by. I think Jerusalem is I think it's the only city, and certainly the biggest city in Jerusalem, that I would say 70% of the people who live in Jerusalem can just walk out from their house. Within 15 minutes walk, they can go to an open landscape and enjoy this beauty. Many times we don't see this wildlife, and when we want to learn more about them and where they walk and what they eat or which way they use, we put tracking cameras, nightlife cameras, to see what they do at night, or what we can find that we don't see in the daytime. So you can see here the gazelles to the left, you can see hyenas, you can see the Persian deer that's called Yahmur, which was reintroduced into the Jerusalem hills. Today, those hills around Jerusalem are a place to relax, to hike, to explore. And for all these things, we want to keep them and save them. Again, you can see here in Lavan. What people in Jerusalem say on En Lavan is that this is the Sea of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, as you well know, have no seashore. They say people in Tel Aviv go to the sea. We go to the springs. This is our sea. Please don't destroy it. So I'll just give you a teaser on what's going to come. So here you can see a poster put by activists saying the springs of Jerusalem are in danger. No building on Reches Lavan, on the Lavan Ridge, which is the project that is being promoted for the last 2 years, a big, huge building project. And they call to join the struggles and save the springs. But I will come to this in a minute. So to conclude, the hills around Jerusalem to the west are filled with magnificent biodiversity, with heritage and ancient agriculture, with many trails. The Cross Israel Trail passes there, with numerous springs. However, as you might guess, there are threats to those hills. in the forms of building projects around the Jerusalem hills. So I'll just explain this map. So what you see here on the right is Jerusalem. This is the built city. The green, the light green, I would say, is the hills around Jerusalem, and the black polygons are the development projects that we know are going to be on the planning committees, while Lavan Ridge is already is almost reached the last stages of approval. Actually, it was approved. Now we are fighting it over in courts. So this is the Lavan Ridge, and Lavan is just here, this small spot. You can see that once this neighborhood is built, Lavan will surely dry because all the water that precludes the ground will not come to this point. So for sure, this one will be dried. And as I said, this is the Sea of Jerusalem. But there are more, even bigger development projects that are on the table right now. Those building projects, those residential units are more expensive. They weaken the poor neighborhoods that are in Jerusalem and present impossible competition to their renewal. And of course, they ruin the magnificent assets you have just seen, which are important to us all. We don't want the hills to be destroyed. The SPNI, supported by a huge number of citizens and lovers of Jerusalem, claim that an urban planning, which is sensitive to the importance of our natural assets and resources, must take precedence over real estate. And surely, first of all, we have to renew the old neighborhoods before we go to the open landscape, and which is so important. So this is one of the first illustrations that we made 10 years ago, right? Even more, about Jerusalem surrounding. Those were the plans at that time. That's certain plan, parts of it are no longer in discussion. However, all the rest are coming back bites by bites. This is a recent illustration, high-rising buildings over the village of En-Karem. If you remember, this village is in the tentative list for UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. So you see all the beautiful monasteries and the beautiful landscape, and this hovers over everything. So again, you see here to the right, you can see Jerusalem, and the gray polygons are the building developments. Once those are built, we know that all the springs that are displayed here in blue will be dried, and all these beautiful, enjoyable places for people, but also for biodiversity, will just be eliminated from this landscape. Not only this, we also made a survey about what will happen to the ecological corridor. So again, this is Jerusalem to the right and the hills to the west of it. And you can see the building projects in the black line. And you can see the possible pathways of big mammals, mainly the gazella. And what we learned while taking these cameras. During the night, we learned where they pass, where they don't pass. And we learned that once these projects are built, the corridor will be destroyed. It means that within time, the population of the gazelle that are to the north and the population to the gazelle which at the south will be cut from each other, and probably the population will be degraded over time, maybe extinct. So what do? We call on Yael Eliashar, and this is what we have done.
Thank you, Liron, for this beautiful portrait of the Jerusalem hills. And now, having tasted the beauty of the Jerusalem hills and having seen the high risk of losing them, we will now share with you the public campaign that we lead with the public to save the Jerusalem hills and to strengthen the city itself. This is what we should do, in our opinion, and we hope you will join us. Each construction plan begins with an initiative which is advanced usually by the city or the government. Only when it is complete, the plan, it is published for public objections. Much money has been spent already without considering the public opinion. Here you can see the publishing of the plan that Liron told you about to build more than 5,000 apartments on the Lavan ridge. So this is one of the most important tasks of the SPNI, to inform the public of plans and their implications. We launched the campaigns to allow many people to shape the future. We go on TV and into the newspapers. Here is a picture of the first big campaign 15 years ago, the Safdi Plan, during a tour of authors and artists' lobby for the hills. In 2007, we won the big battle, but unfortunately, the big plan that was canceled due to our campaign with the public and 16,000 objections that we gathered is now returned in separate pieces. So we also meet in homes. Of course, this is before COVID. Now we go on Zoom, but with the same vigor. We explain, we show the maps, people ask questions, and together we form the campaign to go. We decide how it is better to shape our future to save the Jerusalem hills for us and for the generations to come. One's amazement and awe leads to the understanding that we can't stand aside and allow the destruction. We know that when you walk in this beloved landscape, you get so interested and so in love that you just must act. Bird watching and wildlife activities in Ein Lavan. You can find everything in the Jerusalem hills. Children are happy, parents are happy. We found the air, we found the water, and we are really so happy that we know this time we should win as well. SPNI cannot win all the battles, of course, alone. The public is what is enabling the campaign to get bigger and bigger. Volunteers and activists join us, taking the opportunity to get involved and help spread the word about the danger and how to find a better solution. And also Knesset members, parliament members. Here you can see Miki Chaimovich. We really understand it's very important that our campaign is not only in the street or in the planning committee, but also in the parliament. This is a lobby that is very important. We produce information, materials, pamphlet to really give the activists the tools to explain and to spread the word with numbers, with pictures, in order for everybody to understand. One of the tools that we produced in our campaign is a report of potential residential units within the city, rather than building in the hills. This is very important for professional public campaign, and many activists have used it as a source of information. As you see, according to the professional sources, which is Liron and Uri Bar Shishat and Tirza Finkel that joined this report and wrote it together, there are sufficient areas for construction within the city's boundaries. The potential, and we're speaking here about up to the year 2040, is about 100,000 housing units, including urban renewal projects. Signing objections to the plan. After having learned with us, the activists come and take their part together with us. We explain and demonstrate to the people with maps like you have seen. We have a dialogue with the people. Not 100% agree with us, and we respect it, but the big majority signs the objection and join the campaign. The actual campaign, as Liron has said, is against the plan to build more than 5,000 apartments in the southern part of the Jerusalem Hills, ruining the Lavan Ridge and Spring, amongst others. We gathered more than 6,000 objections in the last months, together with the activists. You can see the activists that have joined us and work along with us. Their part in this campaign is really crucial. Those activists are the spirit of the campaign. Here you can see the theme with which we work, the call to act. Look at it, save or frame. And when you look at it, you understand you have to act and you have to sign the objection and come to the campaign. So on February 28, 2019, we filed over 6,000 objections from citizens who joined SPNI's objection, including Knesset members, scientists, various public figures, as well as intellectuals, artists, and writers. You can see here, during the discussion in the Regional Planning Committee, demonstration in the rain, and what is very important is, and it follows after filing the objections, then follows the planning institution meeting, and many of those who submitted objections wish to attend. It's very important for the committee to see the people that are behind the papers, the objections. And here you can see the public campaign accelerates also with the organization, a new organization of saving the Jerusalem Hills, of young, and not only young people that are working together with us and really accelerate the public campaign. Here is a cooperation with the XR, Extinction Rebellion movement in Jerusalem, in a very big Calatrava
bridge.
The bridge, and they wrote, in climate crisis, no development in open landscape and spaces, save the Jerusalem Hills. As Liron mentioned, we submitted an appeal to the Supreme Court, and the activists are always there. They are the soul of the campaign, as we said. And they are giving nature its voice. So what is very important for us to say to you this evening, first of all, is thank you for joining us and for learning with us the beauty and the danger of the Jerusalem Hills. And really now is the time to determine Jerusalem's shape and spirit. It has been a long journey, as we have shown you, and the magnificent hills are still green, but this is the last chance to stop development plans. Now, in the era of climate change crisis, we must act with greater vigor. When the land should be kissed, like Josh Tickle and Rebecca Hall Tickle say in their beautiful movie, and not demolished, kiss the ground, I mean, to continue its carbon fixing. There is a choice, and you can help us and shape the future of Jerusalem. On the one hand, if business as usual continues, it's ruining the Jerusalem hills, the natural assets and the source of health for the city, the state and the people, and also an attraction for tourists from all over the world. On the other hand, the other opportunity that we say is better, and the only one that must be chosen, is declaring the Jerusalem Hills and Springs a national park for generations to come. We can tell you that the people has already decided. Their opinion is shaped. You can see. Here on the right, you can see what the picture we have taken from the committee, which is 4 stories up. You can see hundreds of people really fighting and being the soul of the campaign. We would like also for you to hear them and to see them. Just 1 minute, please. And another short film. We will try.
Reches Lavan, zo לא סותמות נדלות. לא שומעים. Reches Lavan, zo...
So you have seen young people, and not only young people, and even council members of the Jerusalem Council coming and speaking their voice. And this is very important. Really, the young people of the organization Saving the Jerusalem Hills are now leading the public campaign. So to conclude, it is very important to us to explain that to preserve and strengthen these values that you have seen tonight, we seek to connect forests, preserves, and parks into a mosaic of contiguous, diverse, and protected space that will allow the ecosystems and springs to exist and thrive in the present and for future generations. We can only ensure this through comprehensive planning of this entire space that prevents encroachment and maintain connectivity. Therefore, we call out for a planning process for the entire area so the Jerusalem Hills are preserved, continuous, and of significant size that will be separated from the Jerusalem's urban development. By preserving the contiguity of the open space, we can ensure the survival of the Israeli mountain gazelle, the preservation of this biblical landscape, and the iconic springs. This space shall be known, as we say, Be'ezrat Hashem, as the Jerusalem Mountain and Springs National Park. And this is our plan. I think the gazelles say thank you, to Lawrence, to Amanda that helped us, to Avital. And of course, we are happy to answer any question and hear what you have to tell us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know what you're worried about. That was amazing. That was, I don't think I've seen a webinar so far with so many people like really engaged on the issues, like the questions when they were saying, when Liron, when you were finishing, there was like people saying, what are you going to do to protect, what are you going to do to protect it? How can we help? And then Yael obviously answered a lot of those questions and said what we're doing to fight. So I'm going to come to the questions in a minute. As Liron Yael says, we are fighting to save the Jerusalem Hills, and we really need your help to do that. Like we don't have the resources to fight these developers alone. We really need the help from people around the world to help us. Those obviously living in Jerusalem, you can help, and those who are living abroad, you can help. If you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at www.natureisrael.org. Or you can, if you want to send a check to our office and you don't know the addresses, please email me at international@spni.org.il and I can get you the addresses. Every little helps, yeah, really every little helps, and it helps these two amazing women to you know, achieve their, you know, protect Jerusalem for all of us and for our children to be able to visit in the future. Okay, so I'm just going to very quickly, I'm actually going to ask you a question. So a couple of people have asked, is there a petition that you can sign, that they can sign? Because if so, send me the petition link and I'll send it to everyone tomorrow who attended the webinar so they can sign the petition link. I'm just going to write.
Okay.
Well, yeah, of course. And
of course,
I forgot to tell you, I'm sorry, about the 15,000 signatures to the petition. Thank you for the question that we have also already have been signed. But the petition is really not only for the building plan on the Lavan Ridge, but on all of the plans on that are threatening the Jerusalem Hills. So it can be always signed, and it's very important. Thank you.
It's all right. It's all right. It's a question from the chat. Okay, so I have just shared my screen with my email address, which hopefully you can see. Everyone can see, so that will help. But again, I will send the information around tomorrow. I've also been asked that I should thank Amanda and Avital for their help on this webinar. And to remind everyone that on Thursday, we're doing a special webinar with the Victoria in Canada JCC, and they're hosting Jay, who'll be giving a webinar on Israel's history. But back to the situation, I guess. So I guess there's like a couple of, okay, I want to try and do like a couple of questions to clarify some of the things you talked about first, and then we'll talk about like the bigger issues. So the high-rise buildings that you showed on the diagram above, I think it was Ein Karem,
yeah.
Are they like luxury buildings or not? I think there's a question.
No, actually, it's both for commercial. It's commercial buildings, Tasuka, commercial.
Yeah, building, yeah, business.
Yeah, offices. It's not for residential units, actually.
Okay, fine. All right, that's easy.
This is something. It's something very sad, because the reason that they put those buildings in there is to make the Reches Lavan Ridge an economic plan. So it shouldn't have been there in any case, because there are so many already projects for commercial uses in the city center, in the downtown of Jerusalem, that is being built today, that there is really no need for these three buildings to destroy the view of Ein Karem and of the World Heritage Site in the future, hopefully.
Okay. So, okay, I'm just trying to see if there's any like other like clarifying issues before we get into like really nitty gritty, into like really more detailed stuff. So Ida wants to just, so as I understood it from the presentation, from what you were saying, at the moment, the plans have been approved and we are appealing the plans in the courts.
Yes, but we now, if you remember, I showed you a map of all the threatens in the area and the Jerusalem hills, and the ones that have been approved is only Reches Lavan, the Lavan Ridge. Okay. These have been approved, but in the coming weeks and in a very short time, all the other plans are going to be discussed in the regional committee, in planning committee.
Okay. Fine. Okay. So there's so many questions and they're so like multi-part. So I'm just doing my best for everyone, try and get your questions answered. Daniel asked, does Jerusalem have an urban growth boundary? Like, does it have like a designated green belt where you can't build into the green belt, or is it just you can just keep expanding the city forever?
So basically, the regional plan is that this should be the green belt.
Okay.
But still you can see that once you build, they say it's only this project and it's only this project, but what we know is like a new neighborhood calls for a new road calls for a more residential units. This is how things goes. Once you start building in those open spaces, there is no way to stop. So in order to build the Lavan Ridge, they actually had to change the regional plan. It used to be in the regional plan, it used to be a green open space. And then they had to do a pre-plan before this plan to change it from green to what we call the orange or yellow, which means residential.
Okay, fine. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that answers that. So I've got like a few questions. So if we don't want, and you did touch on this in the webinar itself. So if you don't want building to be done on Reches Lavan and all these other places, where do you want the Jerusalem municipality to build all these new houses? Because we have to put people somewhere.
Yes, so I'll show you the report that we made where we looked for the potential within the built city, within the city's boundaries, built boundaries. And we showed that there is a lot of renewal neighborhoods that you can add more units to it. And there also, there is more still potential of new units and open, which is not built.
Okay. So basically the plan is that we want to build inside the city. Like according to our estimates, which is from, I guess, the original campaign to stop all the building in the Jerusalem hills back to the Safety plan, SPNI identified that there are there's potential to build 40,000 additional housing units inside Jerusalem. So we don't...
100,000. More.
100,000.
There you go. 100,000 units inside Jerusalem. And to create a stronger city with high municipal taxes and stronger amenities and better public transport, we are advocating that Jerusalem municipalities should build in all the empty spaces inside the city, of which we've identified, and sent them a report, and they've received the report, and they know the report exists. And then also to knock down some the older buildings and build high rises instead of them, again, inside the city to strengthen the city. So we don't have to, you don't have to go west.
Yeah,
so you don't have to go out of the city. And of course, if you can't Also, of course, because of the situation with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, you can't really go east, north, or south. So there's that sort of, we haven't even touched on that on the international.
It's not always accurate, Lawrence, because many neighborhoods are being built, but surely these very, very precious hills don't have to be touched. And there are many possibilities. We have neighborhoods that are now 2 or 3 stories, and you can add until 8 stories, you know, so there are many possibilities, and we have to do a new master plan for Jerusalem and to preserve the Jerusalem hills. This is really feasible, you know, startup nation. We know things, we really know how to deal with things. So this is really feasible.
Okay. So I've got a couple of questions, which I just got a question in the chat and one from the Q&A, which I do want to ask. Why do the developers want to build in this place? Like, are they incentivized to do that?
It's always easier to build somewhere a bit outside the city. Nobody disturbs you. But this is what you mean. It's cheaper because the land, you don't have. It's cheaper if the land is flat. In Jerusalem hills, it will be more expensive. So maybe it's not an incentive, but it's an incentive in the sense that it's easier to build in these open spaces around Jerusalem.
Also, I think I read somewhere about that developers get like land packages, like if developers agree to build inside the city, they then get like land packages to make it worthwhile outside the city. Is that right?
There are contracts between the government and cities. This is what you mean, הסכמי גג?
Yeah, I think so.
So there are kind of contracts in which the government tells the city, if you build more and more, I'll give you this sum of money for infrastructure. So this incentivized the city to build more and more. But as we learned, many cities in Israel which have signed those contracts with the government have now withdrawn from the contracts because they understood that it's bad for the city itself. It makes the city weaken and not stronger. So actually they said that they don't want to go along with those contracts. So Reches Lavan is, yes, it's within one of these contracts that the government has made with the city of Jerusalem. Because so if Jerusalem built the Lavan Ridge, it will get some money for infrastructures or build whatever it asks for, but not residential use.
Okay. So our good Serbian friend Miroslav asked, I don't know if you know the answer to this one or not. Is Israel a signatory to the Bern Convention and the Aarhus Convention, neither of which I've heard of before, which allow people to decide and influence environmental projects? I don't know if you...
Again, what's the convention name?
The Bern Convention and the Aarhus Convention, maybe? Aarhus? We'll check. If you guys don't know, we can check and get back to you. Okay, so Sheila asked, if you donate now, yes, I will make sure that your donation goes towards this project. Yes, I will. Yes, I'll be looking out for any donations the next day or so from people who've been on the webinar and make sure it goes to this project, because I know that Liron and Yael want that, really do need the money, and that I've been getting donations in. So thank you everyone who's donated so far. It really, it just warms my heart to know that there's so many people out there who care and are willing and able to do something to protect these really beautiful areas. And anyone who donates, just let us know and we'll give you a private tour as well when travel resumes. So Lisa asked, about, is there any way to do like rent control for like foreigners, like foreign people, I guess foreigners who buy apartments in Jerusalem and take up all the affordable housing and make the city unaffordable for Jerusalemites? Is there anything we can do to stop that? Like rent control or anything?
Can you repeat, Lawrence?
Yes, I knew. I could see you were getting
an affordable building. The Jerusalem.
So is there anything? Is like I guess the question is, one of the challenges of Jerusalem is obviously tourists buying holiday homes. I take it. So is there anything that we can do to stop that? Is that really is that possible, or is that relevant, or what do you guys think about that?
Yes, we have this phenomenon. Usually they wouldn't want to buy their houses in the Lavan Ridge. They would want to go to one of the historical neighborhoods much more than live in the outskirts of Jerusalem, I guess. Usually the problem is within the inner city that we see this phenomenon going on. I don't know how you can stop it though.
Yeah, go on, Liron.
I wanted to stress that really the new plans that we have shown this evening, because really it's very hard topography. It's expensive. It's not affordable building, and it won't help the young people that protest and say, if the Jerusalem hills are not here, we won't be here. We are losing them. Mm-hmm. It's very important to understand that it is not affordable living.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Even if it were, we would fight it, because the resources that we get from them are not less important than place to live. Yeah. But it's an easier case when it's not affordable living, as we think.
Sure. So Sheila asks, is there, how do we contact the authorities? So one of the petitions software that we use is like, basically it just sends an email to like all the decision makers saying, don't do this. Right?
Yeah, we do also email campaigns, and we will, Lawrence, we will inform you, and it will be great to get involved in these email campaigns that we will launch.
Yeah. Okay. So again, Sheila and Nicole will send all that stuff out tomorrow, and Karen also asked that, and also again, like if you please share it amongst all your friends and your communities as well, because of course. Because obviously the more voices, the more people signing up, obviously the more powerful we are. So someone asked,
one thing about the petition, Lawrence.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the petition right now is translated into English. So if this is important, then we should translate it and then have it put on the.
We'll see what we can do tomorrow in the office. We'll try. We'll see what the situation is. Okay. There was one more question. Hey, there's actually a couple of questions. Is like this building anything to do with corruption? Like, are we expecting this? Like, do you suspect this is like another like Holy Lands where the mayor is like getting envelopes of cash to approve this, or is this just this is just the actual process? You're looking.
If there's corruption here, like shchitut.
Yeah, like
yeah,
with.
We don't get into these subjects. We fight, to the body of the issue, and not to the body of the people that enhance these plans. So this is not our job, and we hope and it's not corrupted. At any rate, it's very mistaken.
Sure. Okay. I'm just seeing if there's any more questions because there's one I've saved to the end, but I think So how? Okay, actually, I've got I guess two more questions for you. Like, how do the planners, how does the government react when we come to them with our protests? Are they, I guess, do they listen? Do you feel they listen to us, or are they very dismissive of us?
I feel that first of all, they listen. I think they listen. Sometimes they try to improve the plans. Sometimes they feel that they made a mistake, but I don't know if you know, but planning takes time. So this plan, we are discussing it for maybe 4 years already. Mm-hmm. So these are things that people fall in love with the plan and they can't let it go.
Sure.
But I think that now we are in the stage that I think they understood the implication of the Reches Lavan Ridge plan. They see all those young people fighting for their future in Jerusalem. And I hope it does something to them. And hopefully this plan won't be approved but
will be canceled.
If it's not canceled, at least it won't be built.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna say that the last question that I wanted to say for the end was, okay, so how do we make, or how do you, what are the steps to make this area a UN World Heritage UNESCO site?
Okay. So I don't know if you know, but I think Israel is not now is not now a member of UNESCO. In the last few years, I think the last 2 years, right? Yeah. Something like this. It's not a member in the UNESCO organization. However, I think this political situation will change one day, and then what you do, if you are already in the tentative list, what you have to do is prepare, it's like you have to do quite a big research on the site, on the World Heritage site, and then you have to submit it for referees to go over it and to decide whether to announce it. It's a big report that have to be done with professional people who have to be engaged in it. And we thought of starting doing it in the last 2 years. We realized that it costs like 400,000 shekels, new Israeli shekels, to make
over $100,000.
Yes, it's a big project. But we haven't lost hope yet. I think it's just a matter of time when maybe we can raise this sum of money, and maybe we can prepare this report. And once Israel is again in UNESCO, we can push forward.
And in the meantime, we save the Jerusalem hills, because of course, if it's built, it's impossible. And also one of the most important tasks with these kind of UNESCO sites is to have the municipality take a step and go with us. It's almost impossible to do it without the municipality. So everyone that can have any pressure on the municipality, it's a good thing. It's another thing that can be done.
Sure. Okay, so basically, first of all, we have to change international politics, and then we can apply to UNESCO, is essentially in summary. But in the meantime, there's the process of making it into a national park. So that will be, that's the temporary, a solution, and a good solution in itself. Yeah. So I think that's a great question to wrap up on. So I really want to thank Liron and Yael for taking the time out of their busy schedule fighting for Jerusalem to talk to everyone today. really, thank you so much. It was a really great presentation. Your English is fine. I don't know why you guys are so worried. There are no complaints, and no complaints about the sound this week either, which is really fantastic. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us. Everyone who asked questions about, is your donation going to go towards this campaign? The answer is yes. So there are a few people have asked that. Yes, if you send in a check, if you just write a note with the check which says it's for the Jerusalem Hill campaign, and we'll make sure it gets to Liron and Yael through our bureaucratic processes, both to Canada and in the US and Israel. I already thank you so much for the people who have donated so generously so far. It's really amazing, and I haven't told. I'll tell Liron and Yael after we go off the air. As I said, we'll be back. So we have a special webinar on Thursday with Jay, who will be speaking with to the Victoria JCC at the same time, so 8 p.m. but it's 1 p.m. over there in Canada, so a more reasonable time for it's the same time. And then we'll be back here, same place, same channel, with Dan Alon, who's the head of our birding unit, for talk about I guess how bird populations and bird species and bird sightings have changed over decades, which should be a really interesting presentation. I know it's got a lot of social media interest. And thank you everyone. Really, it's so like I love doing these. Like it's great being part of a community, being knowing that there are people out there who care about the work, care about this cause, care about this mission, like I do, like Yael and Liron do, like Avatar, who is I can see watching, and Amanda, who's also watching. And you know, there are people out there who care, who really care and really want us to succeed, and who are really prepared to help us succeed, most importantly. And just thank you so much. It's a really great presentation, and thank you everyone, and have a good night or a good day.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. All right. Okay, bye everyone. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.